Yes, Carol?
If the candidate has many marks,
Oh, he's here already?
we're born.
No, that's fine. You don't need to tell him to wait. Send him in. I've waited long enough for him already. Hi there. Please take a seat. You probably already know this, because I own the company. But I'm Anna Avery. And well, I already know who you are. I've got your file right here. But it is nice to meet you. Well, I'm glad that the feeling is mutual. Now, do you have any idea why I, the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, has called a middle-of-the-pack employee from our design and development division to my office? No, it has nothing to do with your work on Project OR or any issues with it. Though I do appreciate that you brought all your files in just in case. In fact, in looking over your file in preparation for this meeting, I was surprised to learn that we actually have you to thank for the project being 3 weeks ahead of schedule. You've pulled a lot of late-night shifts to keep up that pace, sweetheart. And I can respect and appreciate that kind of work ethic. You're welcome, then. Although I don't expect thanks for praise of honest hard work. Now, as I said, this isn't about Project OR. Do you have any other idea as to why I might have called you in here today? Yes, I know you don't have any disciplinary actions or any official write-ups. And no, no one has reported you for any kind of dispute. Certainly not anything that's important enough to have you talking to me about it, at any rate. Think back, honey, to about 6 months ago, when my company had just purchased the company you worked for at the time. Do you remember signing a new contract of employment after the merger? Okay, good. Did you actually read that contract, or did you just sign on the dotted line? You actually read it? Color me impressed, sweetheart. Nobody seems to actually look at their employment contracts with any kind of care nowadays. Tell me, when you looked at it, was there anything that stood out to you? Something that stuck in your mind as odd or important? Yes, I suppose the pay increase and stock options for all employees would be the thing that stuck out the most in your mind at the time. I can't exactly blame you for focusing on mostly that. I can imagine that something of a big deal for you and your coworkers. What I was actually getting at was the nutrition and dietary clauses in the contract and the new programs that came with them. Yes, those clauses are the reasons that you and your fellow employees have had to have a full physical and blood sample taken by the registered nurse every couple months to check your health and nutrition levels. We've been running your blood sugar, levels of vitamins, and comparing your weight now to your baseline weight from the beginning of the quarter, and to a theoretical healthy weight determined by your doctor, among other things. Those clauses were put in place alongside a series of programs that provide food and nutritional health education to all employees. You've probably seen the free lunches in our building's cafeteria and the takeaway meals we offer during the evenings, but the programs go far beyond that. We also have a program that sends groceries home with the employees that are carefully formulated to provide the correct amount of calories, starches, fiber, and protein. And it's not just enough groceries for just the employee either. The programs provide food for any dependents they might have as well. It is a good system, yes. And we've actually seen an incredible increase in employee efficiency and retention. If I'm honest, I was completely prepared to have the programs be a net loss and just take the tax benefits. But with how much we've increased our efficiency and speed over the last quarter, we're actually seeing a massive benefit in profits from it. But like I said, that wasn't the goal or concern at the time. No, that's the different programs and what they're doing. That's just a result of the clauses in that contract you signed, not what the clauses actually do. I'm going to assume you don't actually remember what those clauses said, sweetheart. No, I didn't think that you did. See, those clauses set a new requirement for all of our employees that they must meet. When you signed the contract, you agreed to keep your body in a safe, healthy state. Specifically, the clause you and I care about today is the one that says you need to be hitting specific benchmarks for nutrition and calorie consumption. To put that in layman's terms, sweetheart, when you signed the contract, you made a binding legal promise to eat enough food and get enough nutrients not to starve yourself or cause yourself to be malnourished. Easy, right? Especially with the raises we gave you and all the programs we've set up to make sure all of our employees are fed. But apparently, for one specific employee, and for only one employee, that little clause has been seemingly impossible. Which really is too bad for him, because that clause has a lot of penalties for failing to take basic care of yourself. Oh yes, many, many penalties, sweetheart. Increased required checkups, loss of stock options, being dropped to the lowest tier healthcare plan, reduction of weekly work hours, loss of vacation days, and even substantial pay cuts, all until your condition improves. And those are just the start for you if your condition doesn't. If it goes on long enough, you can even be fired for it. And I do mean you, sweetheart. You've been failing to hit your dietary and nutritional benchmarks for months. You were given multiple official warnings to fix the problem before disciplinary action became necessary. And you seemingly ignored every single one. I don't even need your files here to tell me that you have been starving yourself, honey. Your cheeks are sunken in, and I can count your ribs through your button-up and undershirt. I honestly have no idea how someone in your state is working as many hours as you are, let alone actually staying productive. But I bet you aren't going to be able to keep it up much longer. So, I want you to tell me why on earth, with all the programs we have for you, on top of very generous raises we've been given, how you're still managing to kill yourself. I'm sorry, what was that? Don't mumble to the woman who controls whether or not your entire department stays employed, honey. Speak up. Louder. I said louder. Really? That's your excuse? I'm a vampire, ma'am. You think I didn't already know that? You think every blood test and health exam we didn't take into account your very serious and life-affecting health condition? You think our contracts, written by lawyers that charge thousands of dollars an hour, didn't take into account potential vampires' employees when they drafted these contracts? Gah, and you said it like it should explain everything. Like just because you drink blood instead of eating food that somehow you're exempt from our very, very simple, please do not starve yourself policy. It does not. There are specialty resources set aside for people with your condition, which I know you would have been informed of. We might not be able to directly supply you with fresh deliveries of human blood, or keep it on tap in the cafeteria, but there absolutely is a program to match you with an able and willing coworker to be your source, who, by the way, should be more than capable of providing enough blood to keep you healthy and well fed. But, for some reason, you have completely neglected to even attempt to sign up for... Stop. Stop right now. First off, Don't you dare interrupt me again. If you want any chance of keeping your job or ever getting any kind of work in this industry again. Understood? I said, is that understood? Good. Secondly, while I appreciate your attempt to explain to me how vampirism works and the long-term effects it has on someone you regularly drink from, your source, I don't need it. I already know. In fact, I've done extensive research into the effects of long-term feeding and, in general, the finer details of your condition in preparation for this meeting. I already know, for instance, that real vampires are not magical parasites like all those old, frankly offensive myths imply. I know it is a rare, contagious condition that causes a form of albinism that takes after how albinism works in plants instead of mammals. That vampires cannot produce their own nutrients and require another human to provide those nutrients to them through their blood. And I know that, like albino plants, vampires are not parasites, but symbiotes. And I know that long-term feeding from a single human, from your source, greatly increases their physical and mental health. That repeated exposure to the chemicals your fangs excrete causes you to rapidly regenerate lost blood and gives a near supernatural increase in strength, speed, healing, specifically a rapid replacement of lost blood, and durability. That being a vampire's source makes it possible for that vampire to survive by feeding on only you, and can almost make you superhuman. Now, knowing this, I can understand how you might not enjoy the idea of feeding on a coworker who volunteered to be a source, because of how transactional that seems. How it might feel like you're being used by that person for all of these benefits, and that no matter what you want, you have to keep providing them, or you'll starve. I certainly wouldn't want to be beholden to anyone in that way either, and I can understand how your pride and morals might chafe at ever feeding from anyone who just wants to use you and your condition for their own gain. But the correct response to those feelings isn't to starve yourself in protest. No amount of pride or comfort is worth your life and health. Nothing. Especially when there are other options. Or at least, there are for most people. Most people have family and friends that aren't other vampires who would be willing to let you feed on them. At least temporarily. Or maybe, if they're really lucky, they have a partner or spouse who would be happy to help. But you aren't like most people, are you, sweetie? Your parents tossed you to the wolves the moment you contracted your condition. And the few friends you had shunned you just as quick. Even your girlfriend dropped you like you were on fire. And the few friends you've made since then are other vampires. You have no one who is able or willing to help you. Do you, sweetheart? How do I know all of that about you? Sweetie. I'm a billionaire who founded her own tech company and built it from the ground up. I can find out anything I want to about anyone, using either my money or my information gathering businesses via every gadget and gizmo we produce. Legal or illegal, I always learn what I want to know. And I have enough money and power that no one is ever going to cause me any trouble over it. Now, let me get straight to the point of why I bothered to bring you all the way up here to begin with. You've got two choices you can make today, sweetie. First option, you can continue the way you've been going. Keep starving yourself and slowly dying as you suffer pay cut after pay cut until you lose the only thing you have in your life that stayed consistent after your infection. The job that we both know you love. In which case, I can only imagine you'll eventually end up either going feral from lack of blood and get arrested trying to feed illegally in a raw survival-fueled panic, or you'll starve to death. Not ideal on either front. Or you take option 2. You make me your source and feed from me and only me from now on. If you choose this option, you will immediately be promoted to my personal research team with a pay raise, a new vacation day package, and all other relevant benefits of the position. Which gives me a competent subordinate who I know is willing to work long hours and has a decently sharp mind, and keeps you closer to your food supply so you don't run the risk of ending up back where you are now. And before you immediately start throwing a fit about how you don't want me using you for all of the benefits your bite can offer, use your head and actually think about it. I have enough money to hire hundreds, no, more like thousands, of vampires who don't have your moral compunctions to feed on me so that I can gain the physical benefits. I don't need to go through all this trouble to coerce and cajole you into feeding on me just to attain a superhuman body. So, you can feed on me guilt-free and stop killing yourself over your principles. Those are your options. You're going to pick one right now. And that will be that. Oh, what if you don't? Then I'll fire you right now instead of in a few months, sweetheart. I won't enjoy it, but I will. It's a will employment, honey. I can fire you for just about anything if I feel like it. Oh, you want me to answer a question before you pick? Okay, I'll bite. Go ahead and ask, sweetie. You want to know why I'm even dealing with this? You think it's weird that even if you're breaching the contract that the CEO and owner would bother with someone so low on the totem pole herself? Well, you're right. It is weird. And normally I honestly wouldn't care enough to handle this on my own. Or even care that much at all, really. But you, when it comes to you, nothing is normal for me. Why? I'll answer that question with a question. Can you tell me what that is? Yes, I know it's a napkin. I'm asking you if you recognize what's drawn on the napkin. Don't get snippy with me just because you're upset that somebody finally cares enough to stop you from starving to death. It is a rough sketch of a CPU, yes. Specifically the CPU design that was the first patent I ever filed, and would ultimately be the basis on which I built this company. At the time, it was 5 times faster than any other CPU on the market. I drew that sketch on my break while working full-time at a local cafe during grad school. I'd been sketching, then scrapping it for months until one day at work everything just clicked together, and I took my measly 10-minute break early to sketch it down. And the rest, as they say, is history. Oh, that part in red ink over my black ink looks familiar to you? It should. You drew it, after all. I'm not surprised you don't really remember, sweetie. It was probably just a passing moment for you. Just another day as an undergrad, trying to stay afloat while double majoring in both computer science and engineering. I've always imagined that you'd stop in the cafe just to get a cup of coffee to make it through the day after long hours of studying. Though I guess why you were there had never really mattered. Just that you were. You'd been standing near my table, waiting for your order to be called. I remember I'd been scribbling on at least 3 separate napkins, tossing each one aside when I realized it wasn't quite right. I guess that grabbed your attention, and at some point, you walked over. I remember you stuttered a bit. You seemed so nervous to even be bothering me. But you told me it looked like I was missing just 3 things to get my design working. You must have thought it was a school assignment or something. You tried explaining it to me verbally, but I just wasn't getting it. So you pulled out this little red pen from your bag and you drew these little edits to my design. Just 3 edits. 3 tiny little edits. 3 changes that took my design from a good idea into a working, revolutionary product. All from 3 changes. It's the little things that are always the hardest to figure out, you know? And then, while I was staring at the napkin, not yet fully grasping the enormity of what you had just done, I heard them call your name for your coffee, and you stuttered goodbye and ran off. I looked for you, after that, all over campus and in town, but I could never find you. It was like the entire universe was conspiring to hide you from me. I actually delayed filing my patent for almost 6 months because of that, you know. At first, I had just been looking for you because I was grateful. But eventually I realized that you might actually have a claim to anything I ever made by selling this thing. That you and I might technically have some kind of joint rights to the patent. That I'd get everything I ever wanted, and then you'd show up with a story about me, a napkin in a cafe, steal it away in a massive lawsuit. 6 months was as long as the fear could hold out against my sense of triumph and my need to succeed, though, as you can tell, I eventually filed that patent, and I earned my fortune. But I never stopped looking for you, sweetie. With every year that my company grew, the amount of resources I could devote to my search got bigger and bigger, and the number of people who would turn a blind eye to less legal means of finding you grew just as much. And eventually, years and years later, I did. Turns out that stupid cafe got your name wrong. I'd been looking for a mispronunciation and misspelling this whole time. Not to mention that when you helped me, you hadn't been infected yet. Back when your skin was tan and your eyes were this gorgeous natural hue, not red. Not that red doesn't suit you, sweetie. It absolutely does. But that made finding you all the more difficult. Because I hadn't been looking for a vampire. Eventually, though, I did find you. And I started to gather as much information as I could on you. At first, it was so I could figure out the best way to thank you for all you'd done for me, while also getting you to relinquish all claims to my patent. As I watched you, though, I realized that you'd never try to claim my patent as yours. Watching you at that tiny little tech company you were way too good for. I watched you always give credit and build up everyone around you before you ever took any yourself. I very much doubt a man who helps his colleagues get raises and promotions at his own detriment would try and claim my patent based on 3 little drawings he made years ago. Even if you wouldn't have had every right to. Once I was sure I had nothing to worry about as far as the patent went, I was very, very excited to swoop into your life and start to properly thank you for all you've done for me. To tell you what your 3 little additions to that napkin had done to my life. To show you how much change and influence your small act of kindness caused. Only, I'd watched you long enough to know you'd never accept it. That if I showed up and tried to thank you and properly reward you for what you'd done, you would deny me at every turn. My only solution then was to help you without ever letting you know I helped. So, I bought the little tech company you worked for and gave your whole department a raise. Then I altered all of my employees' contracts to give stock options to people in your pay bracket, which was not nearly as financially stressful on the company as you might think. Then, last but not least, I had my lawyers write up some very special little clauses and help design some very unique little programs to feed all of the company's employees. Because I had been watching you starve yourself day after day, week after week, for months. You were barely surviving off of animal blood, that little bit of human blood you could afford to buy on the open market. And I could see no other way to get you a steady food source. It's not like I could arrange for you to naturally meet a source. Not in any way that was guaranteed to work out, at least. And I thought that would be that, you know? I thought that I'd done as good as I possibly could while pulling strings from the shadows, and I was ready to call all of that a success and move on to other things, content in the knowledge that I had saved my savior. But you just wouldn't stop starving yourself. And I had to watch every single day as you entered this building, worked longer hours than any other employee, and went home to a crappy apartment without any real sustenance in its cupboards. You were just a dozen floors below me every single day, and I was just supposed to do nothing? To watch someone I owed the existence of this very company to just waste away under my own watchful eye? No, 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 no. I am in your debt. You gave me my life's dream. That's the kind of thing I can't ever fully repay. That means that from the moment I found you again, you became my responsibility. Mine to care for, mine to worry about, mine to protect from every single danger in this world, even if and when that danger is yourself. I hope that answers your question about why I'm doing this, sweetheart. And that it helps make your choice easier. I hope you'll let me help you, sweetheart. I don't want to have to watch you die because you're stubborn. But, I'll try to respect whatever decision you make. I understand if you need time to think about all this, honey. We can be done now and you can come back next week to tell me what you... Huh? I'm sorry, sweetheart. Can you say that again? Really? Sweetheart, are you sure? I mean, I was hoping you would let me help you, but I don't want you rushing into this if... Huh? Well, all right then. That settles that, I suppose. I'll get the paperwork on your promotion and transfer to my personal team finished ASAP. You should have your new assignment by tomorrow. Right after you sign this contract that actually makes everything we've discussed legally binding, of course. Excellent. All right, I'll get started on that transfer form. Right after you get your butt over here and actually get some blood in your system, of course. And no arguments, yeah? You already signed a contract saying you do exactly that. Just to drink slowly and only until it feels comfortable, okay? That shouldn't take too long. Your body isn't ready to process a regular full meal yet right now. We'll have to slowly ease you back up into full-sized portions. For now, I'll settle knowing you're actually feeding properly at all. And I'll even forgive you for interrupting me again. Because I'm so happy.